Ma'am, this establishment serves qualified clientele only. The bank manager's eyes swept dismissively over Dr. Amelia Washington's business attire. 10 minutes later, she owned his job. Have you ever watched privilege crumble in real time? 8:47 a.m., First National Bank, downtown Chicago. These black stories unfold in boardrooms and bank lobbies across America every single day. Real-life stories of prejudice disguised as professionalism. Life stories that reveal how assumptions can destroy careers in minutes. Dr. Amelia Washington was about to become the center of one of the most touching stories of strategic justice ever captured on camera. She adjusted her tailored Armani blazer as marble heels clicked across the polished lobby floor. Her PhD in economics from Wharton hadn't prepared her for what happened next. "Excuse me," she said politely to the receptionist, a young woman whose nameplate read Jessica Martinez. "I need to speak with someone about opening a corporate account for my consulting firm." Jessica barely glanced up from her iPhone, scrolling through Instagram stories. Her dismissive tone carried the edge reserved for people she deemed unworthy of this establishment's prestige. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I was told by Senator Mitchell's office." "We don't do walk-ins for business accounts." Jessica's interruption was sharp, final, especially not for boutique operations. The assumption landed like a physical blow. Dr. Washington's firm, Washington Strategic Solutions, had just secured a $50 million 0-cents federal consulting contract. But Jessica saw only a black woman in business attire, clearly not their typical clientele. 8:52 a.m., 5 minutes remaining until everything changed. "Perhaps I could speak with Mr. Harrison directly?" Senator Mitchell specifically recommended this branch. Jessica's eyebrows lifted slightly, but skepticism remained etched across her features. Her voice dripped with condescension that would soon cost her career. "Mr. Harrison is busy with important clients. Maybe try one of those community banks downtown? They're more accommodating." The coded suggestion struck like a slap. Dr. Washington's fingers tightened around her leather portfolio containing documents that would soon reshape this entire conversation. But Jessica couldn't see past her own biases, missing the first-class boarding pass tucked visibly in the jacket pocket from last night's red-eye flight from Washington, D.C. A teenage customer named Maya Chen sat nearby, mindlessly live-streaming her morning routine to her 47,000 TikTok followers. Her phone camera captured every dismissive gesture, every condescending word, broadcasting this discrimination to an audience that would soon explode into the thousands. 8:54 a.m. Branch manager Robert Harrison emerged from his corner office like a figure from old money privilege. Silver hair perfectly styled, tailored suit screaming generational wealth and exclusive connections. His practiced smile faltered the moment he noticed Dr. Washington. "Jessica, what's the situation here?" "This lady wants to open a business account without an appointment." I explained our policies about proper procedures. Harrison's assessment was swift and brutal. His eyes cataloged everything with the precision of a man accustomed to categorizing people by their perceived worth. Race, gender, outsider status in his pristine world of inherited privilege. "Ma'am," Harrison's voice carried that particular condescension reserved for people he considered beneath his institution's standards. "This establishment serves qualified clientele only. Our business accounts require significant capital backing and established credit histories." He gestured toward the marble columns and crystal chandeliers as if they proved his point. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of the smaller institutions better suited to your demographic needs." 8:56 a.m. The coded language wasn't lost on anyone present. Maya's livestream counter hit 200 viewers as her followers began commenting on the obvious discrimination unfolding in real time. Comments flooded the screen. "This is so wrong. Someone needs to check this manager. Why isn't she fighting back?" "I understand your concerns about qualification," Dr. Washington replied, her voice maintaining professional composure despite the humiliation burning in her chest. "But I assure you, my credentials exceed your standard requirements." Harrison's laugh was sharp, dismissive, echoing off the marble walls with cruel finality. "Miss, we handle portfolios worth millions. This isn't about hurt feelings. It's about financial reality. Our clients don't typically look like you, and there's good reason for that. The mask slipped completely. Around them, other customers began shifting uncomfortably, sensing the discriminatory undercurrent. The mourning crowd included elderly retirees, young professionals, and business executives who recognized prejudice when they witnessed it firsthand. 8:57 a.m. Security guard Marcus Johnson shifted uncomfortably near the entrance doors. A black man in uniform, he'd witnessed this scenario before. Qualified customers dismissed because they didn't fit Harrison's narrow definition of banking success. His own phone discreetly captured audio as witness to what was becoming another chapter in America's ongoing discrimination narrative. "Mr. Harrison?" Dr. Washington's voice remained steady, controlled. "I think there's been a serious misunderstanding. If you could review my documentation, I don't need to review anything." Harrison turned his back with theatrical finality. "Jessica, please escort this woman out. We have actual business to conduct with legitimate clients." The dismissal was absolute, devastating in its casual cruelty. But Dr. Washington didn't move toward the exit. Instead, she reached into her portfolio with deliberate calm, fingers finding documents that would soon transform Harrison's arrogance into career-ending panic. 8:58 a.m. Maya's live stream had exploded to 1,500 viewers, with shares spreading across multiple social platforms. Her followers were tagging friends, creating a viral audience for discrimination happening in real time. The comment section blazed with outrage and anticipation. "Sir, I'm going to make one final request," Dr. Washington said, her voice carrying a new undertone that made Harrison pause mid-stride. "I strongly suggest you reconsider this decision." "Are you threatening me?" Harrison's voice rose, drawing attention from across the lobby. "Security, remove this woman immediately!" Marcus approached reluctantly, his expression apologetic. 20 years of security experience had taught him to recognize power when he saw it. Something about Dr. Washington's calm confidence suggested Harrison was making a catastrophic mistake. 8:59 a.m. 1 minute remaining. "This is your final opportunity, Mr. Harrison," she stated with quiet authority. "I'm offering you the chance to handle this situation professionally and privately." Harrison's face flushed with indignation, his voice carrying across the marble lobby to ensure maximum witnesses to his professional suicide. "The audacity! Do you know who I am? I've been managing this branch for 15 years. I decide who belongs in this establishment, and you clearly don't meet our standards." Other customers pulled out phones, adding to the growing digital documentation. The discrimination was being preserved from multiple angles, creating a permanent record that would soon trigger corporate consequences. 9:00 a.m. Time's up. Dr. Washington nodded slowly, as if confirming a decision she'd hoped to avoid. Her hand moved to her jacket pocket, fingers brushing the boarding pass that would soon reveal her true status. But first, she had one final card to play. "Mr. Harrison," she said, pulling out her phone with deliberate precision, "I think it's time you met your new boss." 9:00 a.m., the call that changed everything. Harrison laughed, the sound echoing off marble walls with cruel confidence. His 15 years of unchallenged authority made this moment feel like just another successful dismissal. "My new boss? Lady, you're completely delusional. Security, remove her from my bank immediately." But Marcus hesitated at the entrance, something in Dr. Washington's demeanor giving him serious pause. She stood with the quiet confidence of someone holding nuclear cards, her phone pressed to her ear with practiced authority. "Margaret, it's Amelia Washington. I'm standing in the First National downtown branch, and we have a significant situation developing." Harrison's amusement faltered slightly. Margaret? The only Margaret who mattered in his professional world was Margaret Chen, regional president, who could end careers with a single phone call. 9:02 a.m. Maya's live stream had exploded to 3,200 viewers across multiple platforms. Comments flooded the screen faster than anyone could read. "This manager is about to get destroyed." She's way too calm. Something big is coming. Why is security backing away? Someone's about to lose their job, and it's not her. Jessica nervously approached Harrison, her earlier confidence evaporating as she sensed the power dynamics shifting beneath her feet. Sir, maybe we should listen to what she's trying to say. Should what? Harrison's voice cracked slightly. Bow down to every person who walks in here, making unreasonable demands? I won't be intimidated in my own branch. But his voice carried less conviction now. Something about Dr. Washington's phone conversation was triggering alarm bells in his professional survival instincts. 9:04 a.m. On the call, Dr. Washington's voice remained professionally neutral, but her words landed like precision strikes. Yes, Margaret, the same Robert Harrison who's been mentioned in those discrimination complaints we discussed. The pattern is continuing exactly as predicted. No, he refused to even examine credentials or documentation. Harrison's blood pressure spiked. Discrimination complaints? What pattern? How did this random customer know about internal corporate discussions? 3 formal complaints in 18 months, plus today's incident captured on multiple live streams with over 3,000 current viewers. The live stream mention sent ice through Harrison's veins. Viral discrimination videos had destroyed banking careers across the industry. His casual prejudice was being broadcast to thousands of witnesses in real time. 9:05 a.m. Harrison snatched the phone from Dr. Washington's steady hand, his composure cracking under pressure. This is Robert Harrison, branch manager. Who exactly am I speaking with? The voice on the other end was crisp, authoritative, and terrifyingly familiar. Mr. Harrison, this is Margaret Chen, regional president. Please explain immediately why you are refusing service to Dr. Washington. The color drained from Harrison's face like water from a broken dam. Dr. Washington? The phone nearly slipped from his sweating palm as the implications crashed over him. Margaret, there's been a misunderstanding. This woman came in without proper appointment procedures, making unreasonable demands for immediate service. Dr. Washington holds 3 board positions and manages a consulting portfolio worth more than your branch's annual revenue. She's also the diversity consultant we hired to evaluate our regional compliance. How exactly are her service requests unreasonable? 9:06 a.m. The lobby had gone silent except for the soft ping of social media notifications. Maya's live stream viewer count hit 5,500, with cross-posts spreading to Twitter where Banking While Black was trending locally within Chicago. Harrison's hands visibly shook as he processed this devastating information. Board positions? Consulting portfolio? The confident black woman he'd dismissed with such casual cruelty was connected to the very executives who controlled his career trajectory. I didn't know about her background, he stammered into the phone, desperation creeping into his voice. You didn't know because you didn't ask. You saw a black woman and made assumptions based entirely on racial prejudice. Dr. Washington, are you still there? Dr. Washington retrieved her phone with the same calm authority she'd maintained throughout the encounter. I'm here, Margaret. Everything has been documented, including witness statements and video evidence. I'm sending David Reeves from corporate security immediately. Don't leave that branch until he arrives for investigation. 9:07 a.m. David Reeves. Harrison knew that name with sickening clarity. Corporate's enforcement officer, the executive who handled personnel adjustments when branches became legal liabilities. His arrival meant careers were about to end in spectacular fashion. Jessica backed away from the reception desk, her earlier participation in the discrimination now feeling like professional suicide. She'd followed Harrison's lead in dismissing Dr. Washington, and everyone knew corporate took these incidents seriously after the $47 million, 0 cents, class action settlement 2 years ago. Dr. Washington, Harrison's voice cracked with desperate pleading. Perhaps we got off on the wrong foot here. Let me personally handle your account setup with our premium services. The time for professional courtesy passed 9 minutes ago, she replied with devastating calm. She turned to address the growing crowd of customers, many still recording. I want everyone present to witness what happens when assumptions replace professionalism in American banking. 9:08 a.m. Marcus approached Dr. Washington respectfully, his security uniform reflecting his moral courage. "Ma'am, I apologize sincerely for what happened here. This behavior doesn't represent the values this institution should uphold." His words carried significant weight. A black security officer acknowledging discrimination he'd witnessed, creating additional testimony for the developing corporate investigation. Maya's live stream chat exploded with support for Marcus's courage to speak truth to power. Harrison realized his situation was deteriorating with nuclear speed. He hadn't just discriminated against a random customer. He'd systematically humiliated a board-connected consultant while being broadcast to thousands of viewers in real time. It was 9:09 a.m. "Please," Harrison begged Dr. Washington, his 15 years of arrogance crumbling into pathetic desperation. "Let's handle this situation privately. There's no need for public exposure or corporate intervention. You made this public when you announced my inadequacy to the entire lobby," she interrupted with surgical precision. "You wanted an audience for your power display. Now you have one, watching your consequences." The viral audience had grown to 8,000 viewers, with shares spreading across multiple platforms. Local news outlets were already reaching out to Maya for interviews. What started as casual live streaming had become viral documentation of banking discrimination. 9:10 a.m. A black SUV pulled up outside the glass entrance. Through the doors, Harrison saw David Reeves stepping out with the grim expression of corporate enforcement. His arrival meant investigations, terminations, and career-ending consequences. Maya's phone captured Reeves' entrance, her followers realizing they were witnessing something unprecedented. This wasn't just discrimination, it was accountability, happening in real time, broadcast to thousands of fascinated viewers. Jessica, Dr. Washington's voice stopped the receptionist's attempted escape. "Please remain here. Mr. Reeves will need statements from everyone involved in this incident." Jessica's face crumpled as she realized her casual participation in Harrison's bias would have permanent consequences. Her minimum wage job suddenly felt precious and vulnerable. 9:11 a.m. David Reeves entered the branch like a corporate storm system, his expensive suit and purposeful stride commanding immediate attention. Harrison rushed to intercept him, but Reeves walked directly toward Dr. Washington with obvious recognition and respect. "Dr. Washington, I apologize for this completely inexcusable treatment. Margaret briefed me on the situation during my drive here." The formal acknowledgement confirmed what the viral audience was beginning to understand. This wasn't just another discrimination story. This was a masterclass in how quiet power reveals itself systematically and devastatingly. Harrison stood frozen, watching his career circle the drain while thousands of online viewers documented his professional destruction. But Dr. Washington still held one final secret, one last revelation that would transform this from a discrimination incident into complete corporate restructuring. 9:12 a.m. The moment everything changed. David Reeves pulled out his corporate tablet, swiping to a document that made Harrison's remaining color disappear entirely. "Mr. Harrison, meet Dr. Amelia Washington, Ph.D. in economics from Wharton, former Federal Reserve advisor, and as of yesterday morning, the newly appointed Chief Diversity Officer for First National's entire Midwest region." The words detonated across the lobby like a corporate nuclear bomb. Harrison's legs nearly buckled under the devastating revelation. Chief Diversity Officer. Regional authority. She wasn't just connected to power. She wielded it directly over his career. Maya's live stream exploded with viewer reactions as 12,000 people realized what they'd witnessed. This wasn't discrimination against a random customer. It was a branch manager systematically destroying his own career in front of his new supervisor. 9:13 a.m. Dr. Washington reached into her jacket with deliberate precision, pulling out the first-class boarding pass Harrison had missed completely during his prejudiced assessment. "This morning's flight from Washington, D.C., Mr. Harrison. I was returning from the board meeting where they finalized my appointment and discussed your branch's performance specifically." She placed the boarding pass on Jessica's reception desk with surgical precision. The meeting where your location was flagged due to 17 discrimination complaints over 3 years, triple the regional average. Harrison's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. 17 complaints meant his branch was already under federal scrutiny. Discriminating against the officer assigned to investigate those complaints was beyond career suicide. It was professional annihilation, with witnesses. 9:14 a.m. Furthermore, Dr. Washington continued, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to boardroom presentations, I was conducting what corporate calls a mystery audit evaluation. Standard procedure when assessing branch culture and compliance with federal anti-discrimination regulations. The revelation sent shockwaves through the watching crowd and viral audience. This hadn't been a random banking encounter. It was a deliberate test. Harrison had failed spectacularly, on camera, in front of thousands of digital witnesses. David Reeves nodded grimly, consulting his investigation notes. Dr. Washington's preliminary report will be submitted directly to the board within 2 hours. Her recommendations carry decisive weight in all personnel and policy decisions. 9:15 a.m. Jessica slumped into her chair, the full horror of her situation crystallizing. She'd participated in discriminating against the very executive empowered to reshape their entire regional operation. The casual dismissal that seemed so minor 20 minutes ago now threatened her employment and future career prospects. Dr. Washington produced a second document, her official appointment letter, bearing the CEO's signature and corporate seal. Mr. Harrison, you questioned my qualifications earlier. My annual budget for diversity initiatives exceeds your branch's total operating costs by 47%. The number was staggering. Harrison managed local accounts worth millions, but Dr. Washington controlled regional policy affecting dozens of branches and thousands of employees across 3 states. 9:16 a.m. Your assumptions cost you the opportunity to make a positive impression on your new regional supervisor, she continued with devastating calm. Instead, you've provided compelling video evidence for the systematic bias issues I'm mandated to address. The live stream audience had swollen to 15,000 viewers, with mainstream media beginning to pick up the story. Banking while black was trending nationally, but the narrative had evolved beyond simple discrimination to showcase strategic power dynamics in corporate America. Marcus stepped forward respectfully, his moral courage about to be rewarded. Ma'am, I want to state clearly for the record that I witnessed everything. Mr. Harrison's behavior was unprofessional, discriminatory, and violated every training protocol we've received about inclusive customer service. 9:17 a.m. His testimony carried decisive weight. An employee willing to testify against his supervisor demonstrated the toxic culture Dr. Washington was hired to dismantle. It also revealed that not everyone in the branch shared Harrison's prejudices. Harrison finally found his voice, though it emerged as desperate pleading. Dr. Washington, surely we can resolve this matter internally. I made an error in judgment, but my 15 years of dedicated service. Your 15 years include 17 documented discrimination complaints, she interrupted with surgical precision. Today's incident suggests those weren't isolated mistakes, but evidence of systematic bias requiring corporate intervention. She turned to address the crowd of customers, many still recording the unfolding accountability. This demonstrates why representation matters at executive levels. When decision-makers reflect customer diversity, discriminatory behavior gets addressed immediately rather than ignored indefinitely. 9:18 a.m. David Reeves checked his corporate phone for updates. Dr. Washington, the emergency board call is scheduled for 10:15. Will you be ready with your preliminary assessment and recommendations? More than ready, she replied with quiet authority. I have video evidence from multiple angles, witness statements, and clear documentation of federal policy violations. The board will have everything necessary for immediate action. The casual mention of an emergency board call sent Harrison into complete panic. Board calls meant investigations, restructuring, and career-ending consequences that would follow him throughout the banking industry. 9:19 a.m. But Dr. Washington wasn't finished dismantling his world. She pulled out her phone again, scrolling to a contact labeled Senator Mitchell, personal cell. Senator Mitchell recommended your branch specifically because of its reputation for excellence. I'll need to update him immediately on why that recommendation was problematic. Political connections. Harrison's discrimination had potentially embarrassed a sitting U.S. senator who'd vouched for the branch's service quality. The ripple effects were expanding beyond corporate consequences into political ramifications that could trigger federal investigations. 9:20 a.m. The live stream reached 20,000 concurrent viewers as people shared the story across every social platform. This was becoming more than viral content. It was a case study in how hidden power reveals itself and transforms discrimination incidents into systemic change opportunities. Jessica finally spoke, her voice barely audible above her career anxiety. Dr. Washington, I sincerely apologize for my unprofessional behavior. I should have been more respectful and thorough. Jessica, your behavior followed your manager's discriminatory lead, Dr. Washington replied. That's exactly the toxic culture problem I'm here to address systematically. Leadership sets the tone, and Mr. Harrison's tone was prejudiced from my first step into this building. 9:21 a.m. Harrison made one final, desperate attempt to save his career. Please, Dr. Washington, I have a family, a mortgage, responsibilities. Can't we find a way to handle this that doesn't completely destroy my livelihood? Dr. Washington's expression remained professionally neutral, but her words carried the weight of corporate justice. Mr. Harrison, you had every opportunity to handle this encounter professionally. You chose to make assumptions, dismiss credentials, and publicly humiliate someone you perceived as powerless. She paused, letting the full weight of his choices settle over him like a corporate death sentence. The consequences you're facing aren't revenge. They're accountability. There's a fundamental difference. The distinction landed like a final verdict, witnessed by thousands of viewers who understood they were seeing justice served in real time. 10:15 a.m., Conference Room 47, Corporate Headquarters. The emergency board call assembled financial power brokers from across 3 time zones. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, downtown Chicago sprawled below as executives dialed in from New York, Atlanta, and Los Angeles, their careers intersecting with Harrison's professional destruction. Dr. Washington sat at the polished mahogany table, her laptop displaying the viral video that had reached 75,000 views across multiple platforms. Beside her, David Reeves organized legal documents, while Margaret Chen reviewed preliminary investigation findings on her tablet. Ladies and gentlemen, Chairman William Thornton's voice crackled through premium speakers. This is exactly the type of incident that cost us $47 million in the Hendricks discrimination settlement. Dr. Washington, please provide your assessment. 10:17 a.m. Dr. Washington activated the presentation screen, displaying hard numbers that made board members shift uncomfortably in their executive chairs. The Harrison branch has generated 17 discrimination complaints over 3 years, 300% above system average. Customer retention among minority clients is 34% below regional standards. Most critically, we're facing viral exposure, with current reach approaching 100,000 views and engagement climbing exponentially. Board member Patricia Knowles leaned forward, her legal background immediately focusing on liability exposure. What's our potential legal exposure, David? Significant and growing, Reeves replied grimly. Dr. Washington's treatment was captured on multiple live streams with thousands of witnesses. Clear Title VII violations, potential Section 1981 civil rights claims, and documented pattern evidence if this reaches class action status. 10:19 a.m. The financial implications hung heavy in the corporate atmosphere. Another major discrimination lawsuit could trigger federal oversight and compliance monitoring that would cost millions in operational restrictions and reputation damage. Furthermore, Dr. Washington continued, clicking to her next slide, Senator Mitchell's office has already received constituent complaints about this incident. Political pressure is building for congressional hearings on banking discrimination, something we absolutely want to avoid. Chairman Thornton's voice tightened with concern. What are your immediate recommendations, Dr. Washington? Immediate termination of branch manager Harrison with public acknowledgement of responsibility. Complete retraining of remaining staff with bias testing protocols. Implementation of real-time discrimination reporting systems. Most importantly, comprehensive audit of our hiring and promotion practices to prevent future incidents. 10:21 a.m. Board member James Crawford, calling from Manhattan, raised procedural concerns. Those measures seem extreme for one isolated incident, regardless of viral attention. Dr. Washington's response was swift, data-driven, and devastating. Mr. Crawford, this isn't one incident. It's visible manifestation of systematic problems. Harrison's branch ranks last in diversity metrics across our entire Midwest region. 0 minority managers in 15 years. 89% white staff composition in a 52% minority service area. She clicked to a damning statistical comparison that silenced objections. Compare that to our Atlanta branches, where diversity initiatives have increased customer satisfaction by 23% and reduced discrimination complaints by 67%. 10:23 a.m. The numbers were irrefutable evidence that diversity wasn't just ethical positioning. It was profitable business strategy, with measurable financial returns. Margaret Chen added supporting evidence from her regional analysis. Our actuarial data shows branches with diverse leadership generate 18% higher revenue and experience 41% fewer legal challenges. The Harrison branch's demographic disconnect is costing us both money and reputation systematically. Patricia Knowles reviewed her legal notes with growing concern. What about Harrison's employment contract? 15 years of service complicates standard termination procedures. David Reeves consulted his legal database with practiced efficiency. His contract includes comprehensive morals clauses and professional conduct standards. Public discrimination against a regional officer constitutes breach of multiple contractual obligations. Termination is legally justified and fiscally necessary. 10:25 a.m. The viral video had exploded across social media platforms with unstoppable momentum. Banking while black was trending nationally, with news outlets requesting exclusive interviews and civil rights organizations issuing public statements. The story was evolving beyond local incident into national conversation about systemic banking discrimination. Dr. Washington, Chairman Thornton's voice, carried new urgency. If we implement your recommendations immediately, can we control the narrative damage? Partially, she replied with strategic honesty. Swift action demonstrates accountability and commitment to genuine change. However, the damage to Harrison's branch reputation requires long-term rebuilding efforts. I recommend temporary closure for comprehensive cultural restructuring. 10:26 a.m. The financial impact was staggering in its scope. Temporary closure meant lost revenue, customer transfers to competitors, and significant competitive disadvantage. But continued operation under current toxic conditions risked class action lawsuits and federal regulatory intervention. Board member Elena Rodriguez joined from Los Angeles with operational questions. What's the realistic timeline for complete implementation? Harrison's termination must happen within 2 hours, Dr. Washington stated firmly. Every minute we delay adds to legal liability and public relations damage. Staff retraining begins Monday, with branch reopening contingent on successful completion of federal bias certification programs. James Crawford raised final procedural concerns. This sets a precedent for instant termination based on viral videos. What about due process and investigation protocols? 10:28 a.m. Dr. Washington's response revealed the full scope of her meticulous preparation. Mr. Crawford, I've documented 17 specific policy violations from this morning's incident alone. Denial of service based on racial assumptions, failure to review customer qualifications, public humiliation of clientele, and direct insubordination to corporate diversity directives. She displayed Harrison's complete personnel file on the presentation screen. Additionally, his record includes 3 formal discrimination complaints, 2 customer service failures, and documented resistance to mandatory diversity training requirements. This isn't precipitous action. It's overdue accountability for systematic bias. 10:30 a.m. The evidence was overwhelming and legally bulletproof. Harrison's termination wasn't about one viral incident, but a documented pattern of professional failures that had finally been publicly exposed with devastating clarity. Chairman Thornton called for preliminary vote on immediate action. All in favor of implementing Dr. Washington's complete recommendations? 7 votes in favor, 1 abstention from Crawford. The corporate response was decisive, comprehensive, and legally protected. Dr. Washington, you have full executive authority to restructure the Harrison branch. Budget approval for diversity initiatives is pre-authorized, up to $4.2 million. Make whatever changes are necessary to prevent future incidents. 10:32 a.m. Margaret Chen outlined implementation logistics with military precision. Harrison will be terminated within 90 minutes. Jessica and remaining staff will undergo immediate bias training, with mandatory federal certification. The branch will operate under direct corporate oversight until Dr. Washington certifies complete compliance with anti-discrimination standards. David Reeves added legal protections for the corporate response. Our public statement will acknowledge the incident, accept full responsibility, and outline concrete steps for systematic improvement. Complete transparency to demonstrate our commitment to measurable change rather than performative gestures. 10:35 a.m. As the board call concluded, Dr. Washington felt the full weight of corporate authority supporting her systemic reform initiatives. This wasn't just about one discriminatory manager. It was about leveraging viral exposure to create lasting institutional change across the entire regional network. Dr. Washington, Chairman Thornton's final words carried significant weight for her future career. Your handling of this situation exemplifies exactly why we created your executive position. Thank you for turning a potential catastrophe into an opportunity for genuine corporate progress. The phone lines disconnected, leaving Dr. Washington and her team to begin the complex work of transforming a toxic branch culture into a model of inclusive banking practices. Outside the conference room windows, Chicago continued its daily rhythm, unaware that a discriminatory encounter in a downtown bank had just triggered sweeping changes in corporate policy, personnel practices, and executive accountability measures. The real work was just beginning, but the power to create systematic change had been definitively established and legally protected. 12:30 p.m. Back at the branch. Harrison cleaned out his desk under the watchful supervision of corporate security officers. His hands trembled as he packed 15 years of career memories into a standard cardboard box. The full weight of his discriminatory choices crushing down with each personal item removed from his former office. The viral video had exploded to 150,000 views across multiple platforms, transforming his casual prejudice into a permanent case study of corporate accountability in the digital age. His name would forever be linked to banking discrimination, making future employment in the financial industry virtually impossible. Mr. Harrison? David Reeves approached with termination paperwork, his voice professionally neutral. Your final paycheck includes accrued vacation time. However, the discrimination clause in your employment contract forfeits all severance benefits and performance bonuses. The financial reality hit with devastating force. No severance meant immediate income loss, while his viral infamy would follow him to every potential employer. Banking industry background checks would reveal this incident within minutes of any job application. 1:00 p.m. Jessica sat in the employee break room, her own future hanging in uncertain balance. The mandatory bias training would begin Monday morning, but her participation in Harrison's discrimination had been captured on video and witnessed by thousands of viewers. Her casual dismissal of Dr. Washington seemed minor at the time, but had contributed to a viral incident that triggered complete corporate restructuring. Jessica, Dr. Washington approached with unexpected gentleness. Your behavior this morning reflected your manager's discriminatory leadership. Poor leadership creates poor followership. That's a systematic problem we're here to address, permanently. The young woman looked up with tears threatening to overflow. Am I going to lose my job too? That depends entirely on your commitment to genuine change, Dr. Washington replied with measured hope. You'll undergo intensive bias training, mentorship with successful minority colleagues, and quarterly performance evaluations. This is an opportunity for professional growth, not just punishment to endure. 1:30 p.m. Marcus, the security guard who'd witnessed everything with moral courage, was promoted to interim branch supervisor pending corporate recruitment of permanent new management. His willingness to speak against discrimination, despite potential career risks, demonstrated exactly the leadership qualities needed to rebuild toxic branch culture. Marcus understands that real security means protecting all customers from bias and discrimination, not just protecting the building from external threats. Dr. Washington explained to the assembled staff, "His moral courage makes him precisely the kind of leader we need moving forward." The promotion sent a crystal-clear message throughout the organization. Employees who stand against discrimination will be rewarded and advanced, while those who perpetuate bias will face immediate consequences. 2:00 p.m. The branch transformation began with systematic precision. New policies required customer service representatives to document any denied services, with racial demographics tracked monthly to identify emerging bias patterns before they became discrimination incidents. Mystery shoppers would test branch culture quarterly, with results tied directly to employee performance evaluations and advancement opportunities. These aren't punitive measures designed to trap employees. Dr. Washington addressed the remaining staff with clear authority. They're protective measures that make discrimination impossible rather than just unlikely. We're creating systems that support inclusive behavior automatically. A new mobile application allowed customers to rate service quality and report discrimination incidents in real time, with corporate response guaranteed within 24 hours and resolution tracking available to federal oversight agencies. 3:00 p.m. The media response exceeded all expectations and corporate projections. Local news stations covered the story as breaking news about corporate accountability, while national outlets picked up the viral video as compelling evidence of banking discrimination's persistent reality. Civil rights organizations praised First National's swift response, contrasting it favorably with other institutions that minimize or completely ignore discrimination complaints until forced by lawsuits. Senator Mitchell's office issued a statement commending the bank's immediate accountability while calling for industry-wide reform measures and federal oversight of discriminatory practices. 4:00 p.m. Dr. Washington's phone buzzed continuously with interview requests from CNN, MSNBC, and major financial industry publications. The incident had elevated her from regional executive to national voice on banking discrimination. Her calm professionalism during the confrontation, inspiring countless viewers. This demonstrates why representation matters at corporate leadership levels, she told reporters gathering outside the branch. When decision-makers reflect customer diversity, discriminatory behavior gets addressed immediately rather than ignored indefinitely. Her message resonated powerfully across social media, where banking while black evolved from protest hashtag to progress symbol, representing corporate accountability in action. 5:00 p.m. The branch's customer demographics began shifting within hours of the viral incident. Minority customers who'd previously avoided the location started arriving, curious to experience the newly reformed culture and witness the changes firsthand. Word spread rapidly through community networks that First National was serious about change, not just talking about diversity for public relations purposes. New account openings increased 34% by closing time, with minority customers specifically requesting service at the reformed branch they'd heard about online. 6:00 p.m. 3 months later, the Harrison branch had been completely transformed into a model of inclusive banking practices. Customer satisfaction scores ranked first in the region, with minority client retention exceeding system averages by 42%. The systematic changes implemented after Harrison's termination had created measurable improvements across every performance metric. Jessica completed her bias training with distinction, earning promotion to assistant manager under Marcus's mentorship. Her transformation from casual discriminator to inclusive leader demonstrated that people could change when given proper training and accountability structures. I learned that assumptions aren't just wrong, they're expensive. she reflected during her quarterly review. That morning cost Mr. Harrison his career and nearly cost me mine. Now I understand that every customer deserves respect regardless of appearance or background. 3 months later, corporate headquarters. Dr. Washington presented her comprehensive regional assessment to the full board of directors. The data was remarkable in its clarity and consistent across all measured categories. Discrimination complaints have dropped 89% across all branches implementing our systematic reforms. Customer satisfaction increased by 31%, while employee retention improved by 26%. Most significantly, revenue from minority customers increased by 53%, adding $12.7 million to annual profits. The numbers proved that diversity wasn't just ethical imperative, it was profitable business strategy, with measurable financial returns that benefited shareholders and communities simultaneously. 6 months later, national impact. The Harrison incident had triggered industry-wide policy changes across major banking institutions. Federal regulators cited Dr. Washington's systematic approach as a model for corporate accountability, recommending similar transparency measures and real-time discrimination reporting systems. Marcus was promoted to regional manager, overseeing diversity initiatives across 12 branches. His moral courage during the original incident had launched a management career that would impact thousands of customers and employees throughout his professional journey. Harrison never recovered professionally. The viral video followed him to every job interview, his casual discrimination becoming a permanent barrier to employment in the financial services industry. He eventually found work at a small insurance office outside Chicago, his salary a fraction of his former banking compensation. Present day, legacy, and lessons. The incident became required viewing in business schools across the country, taught as a case study in crisis management, corporate accountability, and the power of digital documentation in creating social change. Dr. Washington was promoted to National Diversity Director, her systematic approach to reform expanding across First National's entire network of branches in 47 states. Maya's original livestream reached 2 million views, launching her career as a social justice influencer focused on documenting discrimination and accountability. Her platform consistently exposed bias, while celebrating positive change when institutions demonstrated genuine commitment to reform. The bank's stock price increased by 18% following implementation of Dr. Washington's diversity initiatives, proving that inclusive practices generated measurable shareholder value while creating positive social impact. Today, the continuing story. Real-life stories like Dr. Washington's remind us that power often hides in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself and create systematic change. These touching stories of strategic justice inspire hope that discrimination, when exposed, can become catalysts for genuine corporate accountability. The Harrison incident proves that individual choices have collective consequences in our interconnected digital world. One manager's casual prejudice triggered institutional reform affecting thousands of employees and customers across multiple states. Life stories of quiet courage, like Marcus standing against discrimination despite personal risk, demonstrate that moral leadership emerges from unexpected places when given opportunity and support. Black stories in corporate America continue evolving as more executives reach positions where they can transform discriminatory cultures into inclusive environments that benefit everyone professionally and financially. Dr. Washington's systematic approach to reform created lasting change that extended far beyond one viral incident, proving that strategic patience, combined with decisive action, can reshape entire industries. What other stories of hidden power and strategic justice would you like to see? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-life accounts of courage, accountability, and positive change. Together, we can continue documenting these important stories that inspire and educate.